You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz. For great radio, get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
You know, I wish we could find some way to hold people accountable. Free speech is a great idea, but we're in a war.
To make sure the economy doesn't collapse, I've abandoned free market principles to save the free market system.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
You're listening to Common Sense Radio with A.J. Davis on the Lanterns Radio Network.
And welcome to the program, folks. You're listening to Common Sense Radio on the Lanterns Radio Network. How are you, Susan?
I am blessed and highly favored, AJ, and it's really a pleasure to be with you back on Common Sense Radio, where we're talking about life is a human right. Take that, Planned Parenthood.
Absolutely, and we are fortunate enough to have Zach Bonestell join the program. He is a general contractor who lives in New York and decided to go down to Puerto Rico and help rebuild and spread the love of Jesus. Do I have that right, Zach?
Yeah, I went down there for roughly 11 days.
Wow. And what provoked you to go down there?
I just kind of felt that Texas was getting a lot of attention, Florida, places like that, and Puerto Rico had kind of fallen by the wayside and wasn't really getting a lot of attention anymore. There was a lot of politics being played with them, and it seemed like a lot of people were suffering because of it. So that's why I chose to go there.
What was it that made you, because of the events that had happened there, what was the moment that you said, I gotta go, honey, I gotta go? What was it? Can you tell us the story of what made you want to just go do such a good thing?
Well, I always kind of wanted to, and then I was able to just kind of force a gap into my schedule. Like right now I'm booked all the way until November, but wow. I ended up with kind of 2 weeks where I could kind of push things apart, and this group, All Hands and Hearts, expedited my paperwork so that they could get me down there for that amount of time.
What was the first thing that you wanted to do when you got down there? What was your goal?
Just anything they needed me to do. A lot of it was rebuilding homes. They're still in the phase of getting roofs not to leak so that they can start on the insides. So they have a long, long ways to go. They have a 2-year commitment down there, so they'll be in Yabucoa for at least 2 years.
Was this all as a result of the, this was the big hurricane that came?
Yeah, as a result of Maria. There's still no power there. They have no estimate as to when Yabucoa will get power back.
Oh my gosh, how long has this been going on? How long has this been going on?
Over half a year. San Juan has power, but Yabucoa still does not.
And where exactly is that located? Is that like far north side?
Directly across the island from San Juan on the Atlantic side. So
it's kind of secluded. Is that what are the obstacles that they are facing?
As far as power goes, years of corruption and kind of a decaying power grid.
So you're talking about progressivism?
Yeah, well, years of it, and so their power company wasn't in good standing to begin with, and then when the hurricane hit and it wiped everything out, they only had, I think, about half their normal power force. The equipment had never been updated, so it was just got annihilated completely.
Unbelievable. And you were telling me...
In Yabucoa...
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
In Yabucoa itself, that's where it made landfall as a Category 5, so just about every second story of a structure got wiped completely off the map. The whole power system is laying in the road still. There's just nothing.
You were telling me an interesting story about the dogs that were running around the island. Could you go a little into detail about that? I thought that was a very unique situation that you were describing to me.
Oh yeah, there's dogs everywhere. A lot of people abandoned their homes, left their dogs. Strays were already kind of a problem there, but it's way worse now. Excuse me. They're kind of running in packs, eating what they can. There were a couple outside of the base that we were at that were very friendly that we were told not to feed, but did anyways. And but their system for helping with stray dogs is overwhelmed. So we actually called them, and they weren't able to come help or anything. So,
wow. Oh.
And I mean, there's dogs everywhere. I guess.
What are they going to do? I mean, they're going to. I'm assuming they're just eating anything. Are they going to go wild? I mean, are you guys able to be able? Are you going to have to start controlling the dog population there, or what are they going to do?
Oh, I don't know. I know they're killing and eating iguanas to stay alive.
Well, it seems like dogs ought to be next. That's
I mean, the dogs themselves are killing and eating iguanas.
Yeah.
The dogs are catching them.
Jeez.
But yeah, I don't know. A lot of the islands down there have stray dog problems. So it's not unique to Puerto Rico. It's just a lot of these were pets, not just strays that got left behind.
What? How did you get in? I mean, are you down there on a base? I mean, what was it how did you get down there? I mean, what did you do? Tell us you just packed up one day, or are you with an organization? What happened?
I went online, searched for organizations. All Hands and Hearts got back to me within a day. I filled out my paperwork with them, told them the amount of time that I had to go, so they expedited it, rushed it. Usually it takes 2 weeks for the paperwork. They got it done within a few days. I started a GoFundMe and fundraised. Doc Thompson put me on the air, interviewed me. He also covered me on Dana Loesch's show. He raised me over $1,000.
Awesome.
The local news saw me on Twitter. I tweeted the fundraiser so much that they thought I was a bot and shadow banned me for 2 days. The local news lady saw it, and they covered me on Channel 13, and I was able to raise enough money to go. As far as to cover my travel expenses, I mean, it didn't cover shutting my business down. That came out of pocket. And then I ended up having enough left over. I think I donated roughly $1,300 to them, which was all the leftover funds from fundraising. I still have a long-term fundraiser that's up now. I'm trying to raise...
Where is it? Where's your fundraiser to help the people in Puerto Rico rebuild?
It's on something called Classy. I had sent you guys a link originally. They only take 1%, whereas GoFundMe takes 8%. So originally I had GoFundMe until I found out how much they took. Whereas the Classy group, they take 1%, and you're able to offer to pay it. Once I'm off the air, I can always resend a link to you.
Yeah, no, I have it, and Susan and I will definitely tweet that out. We want to help however we can because we're all about life here, and that's important to. I mean, you went down there and you were telling me that there wasn't many men or women or any persons, as the Canadian Prime Minister likes to use, that has the skill set that you have. And you were mentioning something about taking more like-minded individuals with the same skill set to go down there and accomplish more. So, Zach, were you kind of working with people that were just trying to help, that weren't really as skilled as you with doing, being a contractor? Or tell us a little bit about that, because I found that was very heartwarming.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that have never done anything like that were down there. I had to teach some people how to use basic tools. There were a few contractors down there that had experience. They kind of tried to split us up between everybody.
That makes sense.
But when I do go down there again, I'd like to bring more of a larger group of people that have all had experience, because I think we could get things done a lot more that way.
How many contractors do you know are down there right now?
Contractors, there were maybe 5 or 6 on base out of 60 people. They're going to be up to 80 people on that base soon. That's in Yabucoa. They also have a base on the other side of the island. I can't remember the name of the town, though. I'm sorry. It starts with a B, and I can't pronounce it. So they're in 2 towns there full-time for 2 years. That's like Barracadas or something like that. It's all the way on the other end of the island.
So when the hurricane hit, till the time that you went, people had to be talking or communicating with you about, okay, well, this is the accomplishments we made. Did you seem to think that there was big accomplishments to help rebuild, or are you looking at it as, okay, we need a major upgrade on everything here on the island? Because after the power grid went down, there were people like Elon Musk who were volunteering to help get the power back up, but it seemed like the government didn't want anything to do with America entrepreneurs and different things like that. They wanted the mayor of was it San Juan that wanted to politicize and was going after Trump.
Oh yeah, they're still a mess. I met a couple guys from a power company that had been down there for I think 6 weeks. Their contract ended early for some reason, I'm not sure, but they had loaded up 2 Connex containers personally to donate to people down there, and they were seized by the government and put into a warehouse with the rest of the stuff in San Juan. So, yeah, there's definitely corruption and politics being played down there for sure. I mean, when you saw the mayor of San Juan give her little address there, the one time she was standing in front of a warehouse and full of food and water saying there's no food and water.
Is that woman, right? And she was kind of punking Trump, kind of trying to talk down to Trump, and that's the one that was standing there in front of a big warehouse full of food and water, telling us that there was no food and water.
What she didn't mention was that the truck drivers union, if you will, decided that was a great time to go on strike and wouldn't show up to work or deliver anything. So, I mean, it's just games all over the place.
Yeah, well, that's the unions playing games. I mean, just taking advantage of people who are thirsty and hungry, and the unions decide, oh, now we're going to have a strike because that way we can gain power and money. I mean, that's just kind of sick.
Yeah. It's a total mess. The groups that aren't government involved are the ones that are making the most progress. There's ways to go down there and make millions right now. I mean, there's government contracts all over the place you can apply for.
Zach, I got a question for you. How many Clinton Foundation tractor trailers did you see down there?
I had to. Still raising money for Haiti.
Yeah, the ones that they used in Haiti to rebuild everything. They probably just flew them right over into Puerto Rico, didn't they? The Clinton Foundation, right? All the things they put in Haiti, right?
They don't have another wedding to pay for right now, so.
Man, oh man. So you did say you were planning on, do you have any solid dates locked down for the future, or are you kind of just kind of taking it right now as you are?
Through November right now, and I have 2 more jobs I'm looking at before I'll make the cutoff point for the year. So it's looking like early winter, hopefully.
Tell me more about All Hands and Hearts. That's the organization that you're with, right? So tell me about that. How did that get started? What is its mission? Tell me about it. All Hands and Hearts.
I don't fully know all the info. It was 2 separate groups, one called All Hands and one where the Hearts name came from. The Hearts name was some supermodel woman who did fundraising for other groups, and then All Hands was a group that would actively show up on scene. And they ended up merging so that, like, her group is fundraising just for them now, so it became 1 group instead of 2 since they were trying to accomplish the same mission. I don't really know all of the background. I just know they were the first to respond to me and seemed eager to have me get down there, so I just went with them.
So they're a nonprofit then that are helping to rebuild Puerto Rico. That's what their mission is, to rebuild Puerto Rico so that there's clean water and electricity, and they can get out of the Stone Age, right?
They're in multiple places. They're not just in Puerto Rico. They're in a couple of the other islands. They've been in Peru before. They were in Haiti. They have.
So they're an international organization that's doing good worldwide.
Correct.
Okay, good. That's fantastic.
I do know on a scale, there's a scale of like how organizations are rated versus their overhead, and this group gets the best rating. So
your money's not wasted. It actually
Correct.
gets to where it needs to get to, and it doesn't get siphoned off and pad, the CEO's vacation home in Maui and stuff like that.
Correct. Yeah, they have one of the top ratings.
Wonderful. That's so great. Well, we're going to definitely send out your fundraiser, because I know I think it's a fantastic thing, and we can always use people like you that are wanting to go down there and put their head down and just help people. I mean, that's just a wonderful thing. How long do you think, Zach, last question for you, how long do you think till they're actually out of the Stone Ages, as Susan said?
Well, All Hands is committed for 2 years at least for that area, so that's the condition it's in. At least a year for power. We're not even at the point of working on the insides of homes. We're still sealing up the outsides of homes so that they're not leaking, so we can fix the insides. You walk in some of these homes and they're just full of mold because it's been raining inside of there since the hurricane tore off the second story of the house. When we
they don't even have a dry, they don't have dry dirt to curl up and sleep on. It's that bad.
It's really bad, yeah. Some worse than others. One thing that was kind of cool is some of these homeowners that have absolutely nothing, they would cook us lunch and things like that, and go out of their way to be nice to us too, which was really cool.
It's heartwarming, is what it is.
I didn't expect any of that, and that was really nice.
They must be so grateful that you're there and helping them, because they're so isolated, and yet here you are with all hearts and hands, and you're rebuilding for them. And I'm going to assume that you're not being paid 6 figures to do this, right, Zach? I mean, you're probably not getting very much money to get
me. I don't know, somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 to close my business doors while I was down there. I didn't get paid anything for it, no. They have paid staff that basically those guys make a stipend to survive. They're not making any kind of real money at all. I don't know what the CEO makes personally.
And you don't care.
I met him. He's a nice guy. He was there getting his hands dirty the first day I showed up.
Well, that's a good sign.
He was up there scraping a roof, so
Wonderful.
They're the real deal. That is really nice to know that. And they're going to be down there for 2 years rebuilding.
At least 2 years.
They've
made a commitment to 2 years, so at least 2 years.
Great.
Okay, well, I'm going to make sure I'm going to put it on Facebook. It's All Hands and Hearts. I've got a link to your fundraising page for Zachary Bonestell.
That fundraising page for All Hands and Hearts, if it's not the Facebook one, if it's the other one, that money all goes directly to their account. It doesn't get siphoned through me or anything like with Facebook, or not Facebook.
All Hands and Hearts. It's the All Hands and Hearts, and it's such a really sweet logo. It's all these hands, and then in the middle of these 4 hands that are pointing out, kind of like a sun, is this heart. And so I see what it is, and you're fundraising so that you can continue going down there and rebuilding for the homes in Puerto Rico, so people have at least dry dirt first, and then I guess you'll move on to doing, power, running water, all of those other things. This is
and
such
that money goes
charitable
directly to them for Puerto Rico. It goes straight to their account.
Nice.
Wow.
And it does.
In other words, it doesn't go through you. In other words, what I'm trying to say is it's not like it comes.
I had to deal with it thrown in my account, then I had to give it to them, and this just goes straight to them, directed towards their Puerto Rico fund, because they're like I said, they're in different places in the world. So anything donated on that page goes directly to Puerto Rico.
Great. Hey, Zach. We got to take a break right here, but we really appreciate you coming on. And if there's anything we can do, please reach out and let us know. Again, thanks for coming on, and God bless.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
God bless you.
You're listening to Common Sense Radio on the Lanterns Radio Network.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz for great radio. Get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
In every rising of the sun, my purpose was to be thankful to be alive. I was even more thankful for the blessings that came with this life, specifically Virdis, my wife. But that came to an end when Aclavain and her minions violently took her away from me. So my new purpose in this life is to gather all the pieces of the Stone's Heart so I can defeat Aclavain and get back my bride. Join me as I travel to new worlds, making new friends and avoiding old enemies. Read more about my story in the first 2 books of the Stone's Heart series, which are now available on Amazon.com in Kindle format. The first book is The Quest for Savitvarda, and that is followed by The Heart of Pagaila. Stone's Heart is more than a fantasy and a sci-fi quest. It's me fighting to get back my precious wife, despite the overwhelming odds against me. Stone's Heart. Join, explore, and believe.
Welcome back. You are listening to Common Sense Radio with AJ and Susan Swift. I'm Susan Swift, and he's AJ. Say hi.
Hi!
He's the bulldog. I'm the lipstick, kind of a little bit. That's the way it works. And we wanted to introduce you to a new series that we're going to be working on to inform you about life, because that is the first gift that God gave. God gave us life, and He gave us free will. And with those 2 gifts, we are charged with protecting them and using them well. And so we're going to start a series about life and what it really means, because there's a lot of myths and there's a lot of forces that hate life and that want to control life, and they want to control you, and they want to control your children. They want to control what you eat, what weapons you can have to protect yourself, what kind of health care you ought to have, even the car that you want to drive. So it really is, what we are facing in America is the notion of freedom, life and freedom, versus those who want to control you, population controllers. That's really and truly what we're looking at. And so we're going to start kind of at a little bit at the beginning, not way back in history, no, but far enough back so that you kind of get a lay of the land of how this kind of got started in America. And one of the main actors was a woman named Margaret Sanger. Margaret Sanger was the founder of an organization called American Birth Control League, ABCL, American Birth Control League. Well, what was that about? This was founded over 100 years ago. In fact, it just in 2016 had its 100-year anniversary. The American Birth Control League became Planned Parenthood. You know, Planned Parenthood that is supposed to be all for women's rights and women's reproductive health, right? And we want to make sure that women have access to all kinds of health. And if you're taking away any condoms, you're risking, women's health, right? And we have to pay for condoms because that's all about women's health too, right? And we have to abort children because that's about women's health too, right? Well, how did this all get started? It started with this woman named Margaret Sanger. And she founded Planned Parenthood. I gotta tell you, if you don't know about Planned Parenthood, you've probably seen it around a little bit, but here's a little background on Planned Parenthood. It has been receiving federal funding since 1970. So since some of you guys have ever been born, I mean, yeah, I'm older than 1970. Okay, so I'm a little bit familiar. But since 1970, it's been getting your taxpayer dollars. And guess which president signed it into law? Basically, it's called the Family Planning Services and Population Research Act. It's all about research, right? Mm-hmm. Woo! Well, guess who it was? It was President Richard Nixon. Yes, Richard Milhouse Nixon, right? He signed into law the Family Planning Services and Population Research Act. All right? That law, it had bipartisan support. So Republicans and Democrats, we're not saying that Republicans are by any means the good guy pro-life, because a lot of them aren't. And the Democrats, some of them could. There used to be pro-life Democrats, I'm sure. It's kind of like there used to be unicorns, but they're not anymore. Not in government. But in any event, now today, thanks to getting the federal funding since 1970, basically Planned Parenthood, their total revenue. This is the fiscal year ending in June 30th, 2014, and my source, by the way, is Wikipedia. So I'm not making this stuff up, and it's generally. You can go to Wikipedia and you can double check all of the sources there. But the fiscal year ending in June 30th, 2014, so a couple years ago, total revenue. You want to take a guess, AJ? Total revenue of Planned Parenthood. Total revenue 2014. Take a guess.
2014, I'm going to guess too much.
Would you be surprised? It was $1.3 billion with a B for baby, right?
I was going to say a billion too. Ooh.
Yes, well, see, you should have taken that. Anyway, so it's $1.3 billion. That's what Planned Parenthood, that was their total revenue. Okay, so how much they get from you and me, right? From the taxpayers. Well, they got government revenue, like such as Medicaid, reimbursements, etc. That was, in 2014, $528 million, like M with mother, right? $1 million, $528 million. That's staggering to me. And this is an organization that, by the way, private contributions they've been able to solicit, they totaled $392 million in 2014. If they're already getting 392 million private donations from people like Bill Gates, the Buffett Foundation, the Ford Foundation, by the way, the Turner Foundation, right? There are all these rich cats who are donating privately, right? Why do we have to fund this organization? Just asking. But in any event, that's who Planned Parenthood is. They're very, very rich. They get more money than the NRA would ever hope to get, right? So they're getting a lot of money, and over 500 million of it is coming from your back pocket, whether you like it or not. And that gets back to Sanger. Margaret Sanger. I like to say that because I put a little German accent on her to ridicule her. I do it on purpose because she was a eugenicist. Now, there's no evidence that she was actually a Nazi sympathizer. Okay, so we have to be clear. But she was all into eugenics. Her goal was to abort as many blacks, browns, yellows, and Catholics as possible, in order to create, and this is in quotes, quote, race of thoroughbreds. She was into eugenics, and she thought that, some races are better than others, right? Now, Planned Parenthood calls that type of, eugenics, they call that family planning. And there's a huge disparity between the number of abortions done on black women than there are on white women or any other. I mean, the numbers for black women far exceed the number of abortions performed on Hispanics or on white women. All right, so it's clear, and they set up shop. Planned Parenthood sets up shop in predominantly low-income areas, and they prey on the poor. They have a disproportionate number of facilities in black, predominantly black areas, and their goal is to cull the black population. It's sick. Now, this little factoid comes from, it's a website called studentsforlife.org, studentsforlife.org. Planned Parenthood operates the nation's largest chain of abortion clinics. Almost 80% of its facilities are located in minority neighborhoods. Almost 80%. Gee, if we wanted to be really fair and equal about, who we were aborting, wouldn't it be all over the place? Wouldn't we have it in rich neighborhoods too? No. They're in minority neighborhoods. About 13% of American women are black, but they submit to over 35% of the abortion. That's a disproportionate amount. If you were doing the number of abortions just based on population, in other words, if black American women 13%, then about 15% of your abortions should be for black women, right? No. it's 35% of abortions are done on black women. So, I mean, who's the racist here, right? Why are they doing that? Why are they trying to keep the number of black babies born, right? They want to keep that down. And while these statistics are shocking, they are really part of Planned Parenthood. That's their history. Margaret Sanger, who, the founder we're talking about, Margaret Sanger, she was active with the Ku Klux Klan.
No way.
The eugenics movement. Yeah, way, man. She went to the Ku Klux Klan meeting. There's pictures of her there because she wanted to reach out to any group that was going to help her with her eugenics. Now, today, Planned Parenthood is the number one provider of abortions in the United States. Right, and we've already gone through the numbers
absolutely,
of what they get. They more than anyone else, they abort babies. That's what they do. Now Sanger thought, now this is where the liberals start to they sound sick to me. But this was Sanger's mindset. Mm-hmm. She said it is merciful to kill infants from large families. Did you get that? It's merciful to kill infants from large families. Through contraception, Margaret Sanger thought she would weed out defectives in a vision to create a race of thoroughbreds. She believed that large families should kill their children. She said, she wrote this in her book, the most merciful thing that a large family does to one of its infant members is to kill it. That's what she said. Now I'm putting a little bit of a spin on her voice there, but that's what I see when I hear somebody talking about. I mean, look, this is the same type of eugenics. This is the same motivator for Hitler. Let's just put a bunch of people in the ovens and gas them because they're subhuman, right? So it's a good thing to kill a member of a large family. It's a mercy. How sick is that, right? She championed forced sterilization. And for you who don't know what that means they rip out your ovaries and they castrate you on purpose. In this case, it'd probably be done with drugs, but they forcibly sterilized people. And she actually proposed a law that required state approval for pregnancies. This was the proposed law that she wanted. She proposed it. It didn't go into effect, but it was a state law that she wanted. She approved of it. No woman shall have the legal right to bear a child, and no man shall have the right to become a father without a permit for parenthood. Now, can you just imagine, AJ, if the Democrats actually got something that through? First of all, you'd have to pay for a permit for a kid, right? And you'd have to get your breeding papers in order, and you have to be approved, and then you could only have, 2.7 children. This sounds like China.
It does.
China!
Absolutely.
Maybe Margaret Sanger, maybe I need to put her in a Chinese accent right now because that's exactly what the Chinese government does. They grab women, they hunt them down, and they forcibly perform abortions on Chinese women who are simply trying to have maybe 2 or 3 children instead of the state authors. I think they're now allowing some to have up to 2 children. Gee, isn't that magnanimous? Beautiful. Anyway, Sanger didn't stop with just abortion. She taught that contraception must not indiscriminately be distributed, but directed toward certain groups that she saw as inferior. She wanted the government, using the government, the power, the awesome power of the government, right? Because you have to compel, you have to control, you have to force somebody into it. If it's such a great idea, how come we can't just say, hey, come on, come buy it, That would be the marketplace of ideas. That would be capitalism if you could just say this is a great idea. But here's the thing. She wanted the government to put birth control in the drinking water of urban areas with large minority groups. She wanted
evil.
Yeah, that's sick. That's sick. I mean, one thought that's going on nowadays, I mean, you've seen the news out there that male fertility, sperm count, etc., has been declining worldwide. Nobody knows why. What if it's literally in the water? I mean, there's so many women on the pill right now. And the pill, by the way, is so poisonous that it shuts down your ovaries so that you are sterile. That's what a pill does. The birth control pill. It sterilizes a woman. So don't talk to me about organic chicken and GMO and anything else. If you're taking birth control pills that are so dangerous that they shut down your ovaries and then you're peeing that into the water, it may be one of the sources for why is worldwide fertility for men dropping? I don't know. But Sanger would have thought it was great. She wanted birth control in the drinking water in urban areas with large minority populations because she wanted to control their birth. Yeah. If that's not sick enough.
It is.
Now, do we need to take a little break before I tell you about some of the sick things about how she was also a racist? Would you like to know more, or should we take a break and I'll tell you about her racist background? Margaret Sanger, eugenicist and racist and founder of Planned Parenthood. That's who we're talking about right now.
All right, you're listening to Common Sense Radio on the Lanterns Radio Network.
Hi, we're the Bells of Liberty. You can listen to us on Lanterns Radio Network.
New shows air every Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern.
You can find us on Spreaker, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, and iHeartRadio, and on Twitter at Bells of Liberty. See you then.
Hi, it's Blake Johnson, and you can listen to my show, The Blake Johnson Program, every Monday evening at 9/8 Central on lanterns.buzz. Here, I'll delve into the news of the day and anything related to politics, movies, music, faith, and more. Nothing is off limits. This is our meeting ground for conservatives, libertarians, Christians, all liberty lovers. The Blake Johnson Program, every Monday evening at 9/8 Central, only on lanterns.buzz.
Hey everybody, I'm Matt Holloway, host of the HoloNet podcast on the Lanterns Media Network from Phoenix, Arizona. And you can catch our show every week live at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern. For those of you who live in Central Time, I don't know what that is because I don't feel like doing math. No, I'm kidding. It's 6 p.m. Central Time, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, every Sunday here on the Lanterns Media Network, where we hold the line against the night and lift up our light to shine it into the darkness. Don't miss it. Again, that's the HoloNet podcast here on the Lanterns Media Network.
Hello, America. Michael Murphy, Voice of Reason here. I hope you'll join me Thursday evenings live at 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. See you there.
And then, if you missed it, Susan's talking about the evil Margaret Sanger, and we started a new series where we're going to focus on life. And Susan, tell us more about Margaret Sanger, because I'm on the edge of my seat, just fascinated.
It's a nightmare. It really is like it's a horror movie, but it's true. I mean, a lot of times we go to movies just to be scared and everything. And if I told you that there really was a woman who planned from 100 years ago to tear babies into little pieces, to stick long metal things up into a womb and grab on with forceps and tear a baby apart, that was her goal, a woman to do this. I mean, that's what abortion is. They stick things up into a woman after forcibly giving her drugs to expand her cervix so as to allow these tools to be inserted, and then they either crush the baby's skull or they tear it apart limb from limb, and sometimes they use a suction device to suck the baby right out. Don't tell me it's not painful. And they also inject saline solution so that the baby is burned alive, cooked alive inside the womb before it is sucked out or forcibly delivered. That's what we're talking about. That's abortion. It kills gestating babies. It ends gestating babies. And the woman who really got a lot of this started in modern America, okay, she wanted to make sure that, we don't have this in back alleys. We want to make sure we do this legally, and we want to get government funding for it. Moo ha ha ha. I mean, this is a monster. And her name is Margaret Sanger, and I like to mock her because she's a eugenicist. We don't have official ties between her and the Nazi Party, although she did employ people who were kind of, they liked the Nazi Party. But I like to make fun of her with her, I put an accent on her. She was not German as far as I know, but I like to say her name is Margaret Sanger, and she wanted to create a race of thoroughbreds because she didn't like the blacks and the browns and the yellows and the Catholics. And here's why. I was going to get into more of her racism, because Planned Parenthood, that's her organization. She started it over 100 years ago. They've called her a hero. That's what because she's this noble woman who's fighting for reproductive rights, which is what? The right to kill an unborn woman. That's what they're fighting about. Mm-hmm. I want the right to kill an unborn woman. Now, if this were happening, this sounds like something that would be happening in a Muslim country to, women there who are enslaved and have to wear burqas and aren't allowed to drive and things like that. This sounds like that, but no, this is America. This is here, and it's been going on for 100 years. She was an avowed eugenicist, and she was dedicating to killing, gestating babies in the womb. She said that the most merciful thing to do to a member of a large family is to kill it. That's what she said. Her words, not mine. And just detailing, why did she do this? Why was she this way? And it started long ago when it went back to her own family. She was one of 11 children. You'd think that she would see how generous her parents were with life. She was one of 11. And this is in her autobiography. It's called My Fight for Birth Control. She associated poverty, toil, unemployment, drunkenness, cruelty, quarreling, fighting, debts, jails with large families. She blamed large families for those things. So she grew up with she saw her father. He was a very free-thinking man who had very anti-Catholic attitudes, and she adopted those. I think she hated Catholics, which is, religious bigotry, right? The few wealthy families in her hometown of Corning, New York, had just a few children, and Sanger looked at that and she saw that, wealthy families only have 2 or 3 kids. She took that as prima facie evidence of the impoverishing effect of larger families. And my source for all of this is called blackgenocide.org. Blackgenocide.org. You want to go there? It's blackgenocide.org/Sanger. You can look this up, okay? Her personal belief of this, the fact that, fewer children means you're wealthy, too many children, basically too many kids, means you're going to be poor. The personal impact of this belief was heightened in the turn of a century when, at the age of 48, she was convinced that the ordeals of motherhood had caused her own mother's death because her mother had had tuberculosis consumption, and she passed away from tuberculosis. Now, Sanger didn't blame tuberculosis. She instead decided that she was going to blame her mother having too many children and being worn out, basically. And in fact, that even was reinforced when Sanger herself, when she was pregnant with her first child, she got tuberculosis herself, and she was forced to go to the Adirondacks to strengthen herself for her impending birth of her first child. And her baby Grant, she gave birth to, she called it agonizing, and she said that even recalling delivering her baby was mental torture. Mental torture. That's her thought of it. So from the very, very beginning of her work with, before Planned Parenthood even had its name, when it was still the American Birth Control League, birth control, at least then it was talking about birth control and not just genocide and killing babies in the womb. But even then, she started a booklet, a very, very first handbook, which was published for adolescents, as teenagers. She's going after the millennials, but not even millennials, the Gen Zs, right? She's going after adolescents in 1915, and she entitled it, What Every Boy and Girl Should Know. Oh, I'm sorry, I've got that wrong. What every boy and girl should know.
That's better.
Jawohl. What every boy and girl should know. And here was the afterword to what every boy and girl should know. It is a vicious cycle. Ignorance breeds poverty, and poverty breeds ignorance. There is only one cure for both, and that is to stop breeding these things. Stop bringing to birth children whose inheritance cannot be one of health or intelligence. Stop bringing into this world children whose parents cannot provide for them. So she didn't understand the meaning of the word adoption.
Susan, we are getting a lot of feedback that they love your accent. You're doing a fantastic job, Margaret.
She's I don't know if she's a Nazi sympathizer, but I know for sure she loved eugenics. And she wanted a race of super thoroughbreds. She wanted the fight race to be pure. In any event, that's who Margaret Sanger was. That is the woman who founded Planned Parenthood. So whenever you hear about Planned Parenthood, just know who you're talking about. Their goal is to kill blacks, browns, yellows, Catholics, anybody who is not, I guess, a WASP, anybody who is not going to go along with their vision of eugenics and the perfect thoroughbred for the world. That's who these sick people are. But there is good news. You want to know what the good news is, AJ?
What's the good news, Susan?
Well, there's a whole new generation. We've had a lot of people fighting against this for a long time, but now we've even got a new generations of students. These are in college students who are fighting back against the deification, the hero worship, the cult of Margaret Sanger. And this is in Missouri, Columbia, Missouri. This just happened a couple of days ago. The source for this is lifesitenews.com, lifesitenews.com. It is the premier website for finding out all the good things about pro-life and protecting human life. A university had a poster of Margaret Sanger up on the wall right next to Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh,
right?
No. Oh.
I know. I'm not even kidding. This is at the University of Missouri. Okay, so they had a beautiful portrait of Planned Parenthood founder Margaret Sanger, right? An avowed racist and eugenicist. She's got her beautiful picture up there for hero worship, deification, and some Students for Life. It's called the Mizzou Students for Life, MSFL. That's a group on campus. They formally requested that her portrait be taken down from the Ellis Library. And guess what? They did.
What?
They did. The Ellis Library, finally, the university pulled down Sanger's portrait because these students asked that it, they circulated a petition. They alerted the media, and they contacted Martin Luther King Jr.'s pro-life activist niece, Dr. Alveda King, who is very pro-life. And between all of the pressure that they put on it, the library officials said that they would take it down. They took it down immediately. So Margaret Sanger is not being deified anymore in Columbia at the University of Missouri. So there is good news. There's good news that life is winning. And all it takes to win is to stand up for life.
And it's not only happening just in the U.S., Susan. It's happening all the way over where our good friend Irish John lives. Jonathan Dunn.
Yes. Tell us more about it.
I got some numbers for you. I want you to remember this. 8, 10, and 10.
8, 10, 10 sounds like a fertilizer brand for grass. What is 8, 10, 10?
These are significant numbers.
Love
the
it.
8th is the 8th Amendment to the Irish, or to the Constitution in Ireland, which states, recognizes the equal right to life of the mother and the unborn child. So, Save the 8th is a campaign that has been energized and motivated by the huge attendance on March 10th, that's 10, for the Rally of Life in Dublin. Anywhere from 70,000 upwards of 100,000. Anywhere between that number is about accurate. You're never going to have an accurate number. That we're taking to the streets to reject the government's plan for the UK-style abortion regime in Ireland.
Oh, so the UK, the government is seeking to repeal the 8th Amendment of the Irish Constitution, which guarantees the protection of unborn life. Right?
Correct. You're so fast and sharp on that. And in 10 weeks, the referendum is in May, and they are 10 weeks out, and they're people that are just highly motivated. At this Rally of Life in Dublin on March 10th, they had doctors that would come up and speak and say they will be fine. They took their money out and said, "Here, take my money. Our first job as doctors are to protect life." We're talking
no harm. That's the Hippocratic oath.
Yeah.
The Hippocratic oath that every doctor is supposed to take is do no harm.
Yes.
And it's not just do no harm to the pregnant woman, it's do no harm to the baby too. There are two patients when you're talking about a pregnant woman.
And also speaking,
and I'm not talking about her husband. I know he might be feeling morning sickness, but he ain't it. It's the baby, the gestating baby.
And that's where I'm going next. Is also speaking at the rally was Charlie Fine, a Down syndrome activist who recently gave an impassioned plea at the United Nations in 2017 to speak out about the targeting killing of children. That I think it's after 15 weeks that they can take a test to find out if a child has Down syndrome. I mean, it's absolutely asinine.
They do that. I mean, I've been pregnant many times.
You're a breather.
I'm a breeder. Yes, I am. I have been pregnant 10 times that I know of.
Yeah.
And I have 7 living children. And what they do all the time is somewhere between 10 weeks and 20 weeks, somewhere in there, they give you the test, and it's one of these. They want to just diagnose, but what they really want to do is they want to kind of promote, well, if it's Down syndrome, that would be your option for an abortion. And I've always asked every one of the doctors, said, what is the point in my letting know? Because I'm not going to abort the baby.
Yeah,
and as I got a little
kidding.
older, because yes, I've had babies over 40, they said, well, and their rationalization is, well, if the baby has spina bifida, there are surgeries that can be performed in utero.
Yeah, prenatal, yeah.
Yeah, prenatal care could help, and they could also recommend delivery by cesarean, because delivery, through the chute there is harder on a baby with spina bifida, and there might be spinal cord problems. So that's how they rationalize it. They give you the test so that at least you can prepare yourself. But there's a contingent of people, that these eugenicists, that think, well, the ill, the infirm, the genetically challenged, shall we say, Down syndrome, we should have to kill them. And there are many people with Down syndrome who go on to live very happy lives. Very happy.
It's so sickening, because I had a friend that called me, and him and his wife had to have more tests on a baby because they were right around 9 to 10 weeks. And I just sat there and I prayed with them, because they both were both scared that because that's a life-changing situation. And he didn't know what to think, what to do, and all I did was pray with him over the phone, and I said, you're not in control, she's not in control, God is in control. And everything turned out to be fine, but just the utter scare of that had that, because they didn't know what to do, what to feel. This was their second child, and it was horrifying that people would even mention something like that. And that's where I want to go with the Washington Post article that's been trending all over the last week. I would have aborted a fetus with Down syndrome. Women need that right.
That right to kill.
Yeah,
the right to kill someone who could be happy and alive and everything else, right? Who are you to play God? And that's what this gets into. You were absolutely right to pray with that young couple and say, you're not in charge, God is. And that is the fundamental. That's what we're getting with our show here tonight. Life is a human right. Yes. And the author of that life is not mom and dad.
God.
And it's not the baby blender where they get the sperm and the egg and they put it into a little petri dish, kind of like out of Logan's Run, that old movie in the 70s or whatever, when they put you in a little breeder container. No, the author of life is God. And as we said at the beginning, God gives you 2 gifts, fundamental gifts, which is life and freedom. And we don't have the right to terminate innocent life. We just don't. And we are risking the wrath of God. I know that sounds kind of heavy and crazy, but you know what? That's the author of life. And you don't, okay, if he wants to send you a Downs baby, you should consider yourself blessed among women. You should be so blessed, because you know what? He has faith in you that you will be a tender, loving mother, and you will show joy to that special soul. That's a gift.
It absolutely is, Susan, and I just want to read you the first paragraph that I honestly just read the title of this article and the first paragraph, and I could not go any further because I was absolutely disgusted.
What did it say?
And I'm going to quote: "There is a new push in anti-abortion circles to pass state laws aimed at barring women from terminating their pregnancies after the fetus has been determined to have Down syndrome. These laws are unconstitutional, unenforceable, and wrong. I could not go any further, and I refuse to, because I don't even want to give that article any of my heart.
Let's analyze that. Just take out Down syndrome and put in red hair and freckles. Put in overweight. Put in white, black. What? Oh no! Here's where it goes. Let's find out that there's a conservative gene. Yeah, like there might be a gay gene. How many times, if we get the gay gene test, right, and we've got heterosexual families, right, are we going to allow heterosexual families to abort gay babies? Is that okay? I don't think that's okay.
I don't.
Are we going to be okay when a couple decides, a liberal couple says, oh, well, there's a conservative gene, I want to abort the baby because there's more likely chance you're going to be a conservative? Is that okay? Can I abort a liberal baby? Just take out the word Down syndrome, because that's got connotations. But what else is not acceptable in our society?
It's a slippery slope that we're going down.
Gross.
It is. Anyways, hey, I can't believe we're out of time. Hey, Susan.
No, we're not.
I know. I wish we could go. We could talk about life all night long. I mean, seriously.
And we will. You know, we're gonna go through a series. We're going to be focusing on life and life as a human right, and all of the different factors and elements in politics and in our culture that explain and are affecting our right to that human right of life. That's what we're going to be focusing on.
It is. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Hey, do us a favor, like and share this because of the algorithms. Susan, where are you at on social media?
I'm at social media is on susanswift.net, susanswift.net. Yeah, I'm still on Facebook. They banned me, but I'm back now, and I haven't been totally kicked off yet. So you can find me on at Real Susan Swift, on Facebook and Twitter and everywhere until they ban me for my pro-life views. Zeke, hire to the Facebook.
Yeah, and find me at Oregon Redskin on Twitter and our Facebook page, Common Sense Radio. Hey, I hope you all have a blessed night. God bless, and we'll see you next week.
God bless America.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz. For great radio, get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.